The world is a confusing, stressful, and often frightening place.
And we each have our own unique coping mechanisms that help us get by.
Some people will tell you that when life gives you lemons, you should make lemonade.
No, that's terrible advice. Just randomly getting free fruit is extremely suspicious. Haven't you heard of Snow White?
That's actually a really good point. It's usually not a great idea to consume anything if you're not totally sure what's in it.
If you're the type of person who copes with discomfort by making strange jokes and who enjoys losing yourself in a creepy and sometimes bloody mystery,
please join us for our dark comedy podcast, Studying Scarlet.
We alternate weekly between true crime and fictional crime, and we even take listener requests for episode topics.
So if you too have a morbid sense of humor, we'd love to welcome you into our weird, quirky, and sometimes disturbing world.
Studying Scarlet is available on your favorite podcast app, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We can't wait to meet you.
Please subscribe today.
Hello and welcome to Ye Olde Crime, where we discuss the funny, strange, and obscure crimes of yesteryear. I'm your host, Lindsay Valenti, and with me is my sister and co-host, Maddie Stengel.
How's it going?
It goes.
The weekend's almost done.
Yes, it is almost done. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
So you want to hear a fun fact?
I do.
We are currently number 7 on the true crime charts in Kuwait.
Wow. Shout out to Kuwait.
Right? So a huge shout out to our fans over there. We think you're amazing and are so honored that you like us.
That's so funny. Yeah, like, why are you still listening?
Thanks for sticking around after the Long Pig episode.
Yeah.
Either you haven't gotten there yet or you really digged it. Either way, thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
All right. I have told you literally nothing about this week's topic.
I have no idea. Again.
I figured since we did a cannibal episode recently and a super creepy ventriloquist episode recently.
Demon stomach.
Yeah, demon stomachs. That I would be gentle on y'all this week. And we're covering a female pirate.
A female pirate?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the Scottish one?
No, this one is actually not only a female pirate, but she is a person of color.
Nice. Are you ever going to do the one that we're related to, the pirate?
Yes, I am.
We're related to a pirate.
A female pirate.
A lady pirate.
A bonny female pirate.
But cool.
Yeah.
Female pirate of color. That's awesome. Is she from... Oh, I'll just listen. Sorry.
It's okay.
I want all of the answers.
We are going to be discussing the story of Ching Shih, who is the terror of the southern China Seas.
Ooh. She's got a nice name.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth.
Yep. And I Google translated all of these names because I didn't want to screw them up.
Still might end up in the cubby, but good luck.
If I still screw them up, I apologize in advance because I'm an uncultured white lady. Ba-ba-ba-ba. So information for this episode is pulled from the following sources. A 2019 ThoughtCo article by Callie Stepansky. I looked that up too. Hopefully I said it right. Probably did not.
You ruined it.
I ruined it. A 2019 History Daily article. 2018 Ancient Origins article by M.R. Reese. A 2012 Today I Found Out article by Davin Hiskey. And The Way of the Pirates website. Rejected Princess's website, and Wikipedia.
Of course. Donate to Wikipedia.
You should.
Because it's awesome.
Yep. And I'll have links to all of these articles in the show notes. So Ching Shih was born in 1775.
She's just a year older than America.
Right?
Aww.
She was also known as Chang Yi Sao. And today we're going to go over her history, her ascension to the leadership of a pirate ship, and her life prior to her death. So not a whole lot is known about her early life, other than the fact that she was born as Shi Yang in 1775 in the Guangdong province of China. and she worked as a Cantonese sex worker turned madam.
Damn.
That went by the nickname of Shi Huran Hu, and she worked in a floating brothel in Guangzhou.
What's a floating brothel?
It's basically just like a brothel on a ship.
Got it. That makes sense.
So you would just dock on up to the ship and come on aboard and do your fun stuff and then get back on your ship and float on away.
I love how she started as a sex worker and was like, no, I'm better suited for management. And then just became a madam.
Yep.
She's like, I don't like customer service. I think I'm just going to be a manager.
And she uses that type of attitude to her advantage later on in life. So you're going to see a lot of that recurring here.
She's ready for Karens before Karen even existed.
Right. In 1801, she married a man by the name of Ching Ai, who was a notorious pirate.
Nice.
And Ching Ai came from a long line of pirates that could trace their roots back to the mid-17th century.
Dang.
In fact, he was so well known that the emperor gave him the title of Golden Dragon of the Imperial Staff.
Thank you?
I mean, it sounds really fancy.
It sounds really cool, but like, I think they lost me at staff. Like, do golden dragons need staffs?
Maybe. And it said that Ching Shih was known for her shrewd business sense.
Nice.
And the fact that she would trade the secrets of her wealthy and political clientele over pillow talk.
Oh, she's a big old softie.
Right.
And also a gossip.
Right. You pay me money for this gossip. Let's talk. Ching Ai knew a good thing when he saw it, and he proposed to her so they could, quote, consolidate their efforts, as it were, for financial gain.
Hell yeah.
Ching Shih agreed only after Ching Ai signed a formal contract that entitled her to 50% control and share of the spoils they would earn during their adventures.
So she invented the prenup? Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, our girl is smart.
She invented the prenup with a pirate.
This girl don't fuck around, man.
Damn.
Following their marriage, Ching Shih went by the name of Ching Ai Sao, which translates to wife of Ching Ai. And that's just kind of
like what you did.
What they did, what you did at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They later adopted a son named Zhang Po, who was 15 at the time that Ching Ai originally abducted him in 1798. So
adopt is loose?
It's a
loose definition of adopt.
Yep.
I like you. I'm going to take you now.
Yep. Apparently, Zhang Po was a farm boy that he abducted, and his natural talent for piracy allowed him to swiftly rise through the ranks of Ching Ai's crew. And upon his adoption, he became Ching Ai's legal heir.
Uh-oh. How does this mess with the prenup?
I don't know. But I also read in some place...
Does he get the staff?
I hope he gets the staff. This is mine. It's a guy thing.
I'm a dragon.
Well, and apparently on a lot of sites that I referenced, he was also apparently Ching Ai's lover, which is a whole other thing.
So this is getting into like some weird like Woody Allen-esque shit.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know.
But I mean, if he married her for like business purposes.
And I suppose he gets really lonely on the high seas.
Yeah.
You're just a bunch of dudes on a boat. I don't know.
Yeah, but stuff's bound to happen.
No judgment.
Do what you need to do.
Yep. So during their marriage, Ching Ai Sao bore her husband 2 sons, Cheng Ying Shih and Cheng Hung Shih.
Okay.
And this is the first and the last time you're ever going to hear of them ever again in the story.
Okay, good. So like nothing hopefully weird happened to them.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened to them after this. No clue. So
hoping for the best.
So the power couple quickly grew from an armada of 200 ships to more than 600.
Okay, Game of Thrones.
Yep. And eventually to as many as 17 to 1,800.
This is just them like as independent business owners kind of a
Pretty
thing.
much.
Wow.
They formed lots of key alliances, such as the Cantonese Pirate Coalition with pirate Wu Shi'er.
So they're pro-union.
Yep. They're very unionized.
Good.
And using his military prowess and reputation, Chiang Ai was able to find former rival Cantonese pirate fleets and form alliances with them.
Nice. Seems hard.
Yeah, and the couple formed a massive coalition by unifying small gangs into a federation of 70,000 men and 400 junk ships. And I looked up what a junk is because I didn't quite know.
Yeah.
And it's a type of Chinese sailing ship, and it's characterized by the type of sails. So they're fully battened sails.
Okay.
And I'm not a nautical person, so that's as far as I took it, because I was like, I'm not going to understand any of the rest of it. So
It's fair.
I'll post pictures of what they looked like.
Wow. So like they were basically running their own like community at that point.
Yeah, they're pretty much forming their own like
World.
community of pirates. Yeah.
Wow.
By 1804, they were one of the most powerful pirate fleets in the whole of China. They had 6 fleets that were known by colors. So they were blue, red, green, black, white, and yellow. But they went by the name of their lead ship. So they were called the Red Flag Fleet.
Okay. Did the colors probably vary like depending on like what type of ship or like cargo it had?
I'm not quite sure.
Or did they just like, I like the black color? Like,
I'm not quite sure. I didn't see that in any of the research on like what the denomination was, like why you'd be one color versus another. So I'm not 100% sure.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, tragedy struck on November 16th of 1807 when Chiang Ai died at the age of 39 in Vietnam. And this was just 6 years after they had married.
Yeah, they haven't been married long.
Mm-mm.
And she had 2 kids in 6 years.
Mm-hmm. And legend says that following her husband's death, as his fleet started to disband, she was quoted as saying, "Under the leadership of a man, you have all chosen to flee. We shall see how you prove yourselves under the hand of a woman."
Ooh, drama bitch.
So she quickly went back to her previous name of Ching Shih, and she immediately did everything in her power to assume control over her late husband's fleet.
Yeah, I bet. Need to keep that community down.
Yep. And by 1809, so this would be
2 years later.
2 years later, she commanded over 800 large junks and 1,000 smaller ones with a crew of over 70,000 men and women.
So she just increased the number of ships significantly, like doubled the amount of ships, but kept the amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Okay.
Ching Shih led the Red Flag Fleet and controlled the South China Seas, slowly earning the trust of her lieutenants by sharing her power with them. And with their support, they collected money by raiding ships, camps, Chinese river towns, and coastal villages, demanding contribution.
Texas!
Pretty much. And they soon controlled the fishing and trading rights all along Guangdong, China, and Vietnam.
Dang. I suppose they have so many ships.
Mm-hmm.
You'd just be like, yeah, you can't fish here, bud.
Yep. Unless you give us some coin.
Yep.
So Xing and her crew successfully escaped every attempt by the government to get her band of pirates under control.
Yeah, I bet. They're so big.
Yep. And they were eventually offered amnesty for their crimes, in addition to offering the pirates positions in the Imperial Navy, but she refused.
Well, yeah, she's doing fine on her own.
Yep.
Why should she say yes to that? That sounds bonk.
Xing pulled on the skills she used as a madam and began cultivating personal relationships to get her rivals to recognize her status and authority. Similarly, she moved quickly to solidify her partnership with her adopted son, Chang Po, with intimacy. To be fair, he's only 8 years her junior.
Yeah, but like...
I mean, he was her husband's lover.
There's a lot of like psychological bullshit that this kid had to go through. Like, I just got kidnapped and then I got adopted. And then my adopted father wanted to have sex with me. Now my adoptive mother wants to have sex with me. Also, I'm a pirate. Like, I mean, he could use like talk space, you know? Just to like maybe air it out, write a diary. I don't know. Be a best-selling book. I could tell you that.
Yeah. So in order to stop her rivals before everything erupted, she sought the support of her late husband's most powerful family members, because he's part of this famous pirating family.
Yeah, he's generations and generations.
So she went after his nephew, Ching Young, and his cousin's son, Ching Shih.
Okay.
And she drew on the coalition formed by her husband, the Red Fleet, by reinforcing the captain's loyalties to her, making her an essential member.
Nice.
And to remain in control of the Federation, Ching Shih seduced her stepson, Chang Pao, due to his loyalty and ties to her late husband as his heir, and helped secure him as her second in command.
It's all still gross.
But
like I get why she's doing it. I know he's not her real son. I just don't like it.
Yeah. It was an extremely smart and calculated move on her part, though.
Absolutely.
Because he actually had like super great relationships with all the rest of the pirates, the crew.
Yeah, because he had to work his way up too. So he was one of them.
Yeah, and he's like super well liked and beloved by the members of this fleet. So of course they're going to respect him.
They chose him when they kidnapped him.
Yeah, we chose you for a reason, farm boy.
Right. That's their Pikachu.
It's like the Princess Bride. Farm boy. And now the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Right.
Cultural reference. So after assuming control, Ching Shih worked to unify the fleet by issuing a code of laws, which were very strict, in addition to being strictly enforced.
So she's just kind of she's literally creating her own society.
Yeah, she's basically building like a floating empire.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear it.
So as a newly minted pirate lord, she took her duties very seriously and expected her rules to be followed. And the laws were anyone giving orders that did not come down from Ching Shih herself or who disobeyed orders from a superior were to be beheaded on the spot and their body thrown overboard.
Ooh, okay, so no 3 strikes you're out. Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
No one was to steal from the public fund or from any villagers that supported the pirates. The punishment would be beheading and burial at sea.
Burial at sea.
Yeah. AKA we tossed your body overboard.
Right. Like, good luck, bye.
If you took shore leave without permission, it was beheading and burial at sea.
At least she's consistent.
Yep.
You're not like, okay, what kind of punishment am I going to get? You're just going to die, like, no matter what.
And all goods that were taken as booty had to be presented to the group for inspection. It was then registered by a purser and distributed by the fleet leader. And the original Caesar would receive 20%, and the rest would be put into the public fund. So the public fund, based off my understanding of what I read, would be like this collective bank account, basically, where if one of the fleets has some sort of issue and they needed money, they could pull from that public fund.
Yeah.
So
it's a communist dictatorship.
Yep. Actual money was turned over to the squadron leader, who would only turn a small portion back to the Caesar. The rest would be used to purchase supplies for unsuccessful ships in the fleet. So everyone was taken care of, in essence. Like no man left behind. Even if you guys aren't doing so great because you were attacked by somebody, we'll take care of you.
Don't worry, we'll help you out.
We got you. If you were caught withholding booty, the first offense was a severe backwhipping.
Oh, so this is the only one that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you withheld a large amount of treasure or committed other offenses, the punishment was death.
I wonder why she was lenient with that. Maybe enough people had tried it that she was like, I'd be killing a lot of people if I did this.
Yeah, maybe. And because she had been a captive once herself, Ching Shih had special rules for female captives. The standard practice was to release the women, but that wasn't always the case. Pirates tended to make the most beautiful captives their concubines or wives.
Of course.
If a pirate took a wife, he was expected to be faithful to her and provide for her, no questions asked. So if they weren't...
Beheading and sea burial?
Yep.
Nice.
I suppose if you were going to be held captive, this would be the best thing for you. Any female captives that were deemed unattractive were either released or ransomed.
Bummer.
So if you're going to be... kidnapped, you would probably kind of want to be ugly.
Yeah.
If you want to be let go.
Yeah.
If a pirate raped a female captive, he was immediately put to death. But if the pirate had consensual sex with a captive while he was on duty, that pirate was beheaded and the woman he laid with would have cannonballs attached to her legs and be thrown overboard.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So like no crushes allowed. Damn.
Well, you could have crushes. You just can't be getting busy when you're supposed to be working. You do that on your off time, man.
Dang.
Other punishments for violations included flogging, clapping in irons, or quartering.
Oh.
Which is a great one. Deserters, or anyone who left without official permission, would have their ears chopped off and were then paraded around their squadron. So by instituting and sticking to this strict code of conduct, Ching Shih was able to amass a pirate empire that is unrivaled in history for its fearsomeness, wealth, and communal spirit, which helped solidify her title as the terror of the South China Seas.
Yeah.
Under her command, the fleet established dominion over many coastal villages in China, and they even imposed levies and taxes in some. In the coastal village of Sunshin, they beheaded 80 men and abducted their women and children, holding them for ransom until they were eventually sold into slavery.
Oh.
And I believe, if I'm remembering right, they did that because the people in the village refused to sort of play along and pay taxes and stuff.
But like slavery is the next step? Like, damn.
Mm-hmm. There are claims that Ching Shih would cruelly punish those who opposed her by nailing their feet to her ship's deck and beating them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And others claim she was an opium smuggler, but I didn't see any documentation that like backed that claim up.
Well, and if anything, it's kind of bound to happen with the amount of people that she had and the amount of fleets. Like, if there was opium, there was opium.
I mean, that might have been part of what they were doing, but it wasn't the sole thing that she was doing.
Right.
So by January of 1808, the Chinese government had had enough, and they set about trying to destroy her fleet in a series of fierce battles. However, Ching Shih was able to take over their ships and keep their spoils. In fact, she not only defeated their armada, but captured 63 large ships and commandeered the crew, which, again, they were given the option to either be nailed to the ship and beaten to death or join her pirate crew. So you can probably imagine how many of them chose to sign up.
Yeah.
And the admiral of that fleet, Kuo Ling, chose to commit suicide rather than be captured by her.
Wow.
Because he probably knew it wasn't going to be coming towards him if he would have stayed.
Yeah.
At the same time, Ching Shih was facing attacks from other pirate fleets. One in particular was the Opo Tiei, a former ally that began working for the Qing government. And following this battle, she was forced to retreat from the coast. For several years, the Red Flag Fleet was unstoppable under Ching Shih's rule, even under the threat of the Qing dynasty Chinese officials and their Portuguese and British bounty hunters that they hired.
Dang.
In fact, she captured an officer of the East India Company, a Mr. Richard Glasspool, and 7 British sailors on his ship, the Marquis of Ely, in 1809.
Okay.
This is a really fun fact. The government even sent suicide boats after her, which were basically boats loaded up with straw and explosives that they set on fire. And the Red Flags not only extinguished the flames, but also repaired the ships and incorporated them into their fleet. So in the end, all she lost was 40 men, but not a single ship.
Wow. Insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
She's such a badass.
Yeah.
And in the fall of 1809, Ching Shih and Chiang Pao, their fleet suffered a series of defeats at the hands of the Portuguese Navy. And this was at the Battle of the Tiger's Mouth.
Okay.
The battle went on for 3 weeks straight, and unfortunately, there was no way for them to hold out forever. So in their final battle of Checklapcoke in 1810, they surrendered to the Portuguese Navy on January 21st and later accepted amnesty from the Qing imperial government. So originally, Ching Shih refused the terms before unexpectedly showing up at the home of the Governor General of Canton to work out a treaty.
Right.
Because you know how she is.
Right.
The condition was that all pirates who accepted surrender would disband, which would end their pirating careers. They would give up the majority of their ships, and in return, they would be allowed to keep the loot they had acquired during their time as pirates.
Nice.
The amnesty allowed only 60 pirates to be banished, while 151 were exiled, and only 126 were put to death of her whole fleet of 17,318 pirates.
That's not bad.
No.
Like, it's not great. Like, it's not great.
No.
But it could have been a lot worse.
Yep. And all the remaining men had to do to get amnesty was just surrender their weapons.
Wow. That's crazy.
And following her pardon, Ching Shih negotiated for Chang Po to retain control of several ships, which included 120 that would be used for the salt trade, which was a really big deal at that time.
Yeah.
And she also used her powers of persuasion to secure positions in the Chinese bureaucracy for Chang Po and several of her pirates.
Nice.
She also requested that the government recognize her as the wife of Chang Po, which was a really big deal since there were restrictions against widows remarrying at that time.
And like remarrying your son.
Well, yeah. And surprisingly, her request was granted, and she actually acquired the noble title Lady by Imperial Decree, which entitled her to various legal protections as a member of the aristocracy.
Wow.
And in 1813, she bore Chang Po a son named Cheng Yulin.
Okay.
And she later had a daughter, but we know like nothing about her. Don't know when she was born, what her name is, none of that. Because she's a girl, so why would we care, right?
Right. Of course. Even though her mom is like a total badass, whatever.
Right. In 1822, at the age of 39, Chang Po died at sea. Following this, Ching Shih moved their family to Macau and opened a gambling house and brothel.
Back to the original plan.
Well, do what you know, right?
Right.
She was also involved in the local salt trade. Later in life, she served for a time as an advisor to Lin Zexu as he battled the British Army during the First Opium War, which broke out in 1839.
Okay.
And she died at the age of 69, surrounded by family in 1844, making her one of the few pirate lords in history to die of old age.
Wow. That's crazy.
Isn't she cool?
She's super cool.
So that's the life and times of Ching Shih.
That's incredible.
Any other thoughts?
Why didn't we hear any of this? I mean, it's just they were so big that it's like we didn't even get like a paragraph in our social studies book, like not even like a fun fact. There was a female pirate in China.
Well, not only that, but when I was doing my research, there was not much about her at all out there, really. I mean, I know there have been some books written about it, but I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot about her online.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I just thought, for one, what an awesome achievement for a woman in that time.
Yeah.
And especially a woman of color. Like, I mean, granted, she was in her home area, her home region and country of China. But even still, I mean, to go from a sex worker to a pirate lord.
Leading a fleet. Yeah, a pirate lord of like at her peak was 70,000 people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I did read on one of the sites, you know, in that one Pirates of the Caribbean movie where they have the meeting of the different pirate lords?
Kind of, vaguely.
The female Chinese pirate lord.
That's her?
Was a reference to Ching Shih.
Wow. They should do a Pirates of the Caribbean movie on her.
Right? When Maddie and I first came up with the idea for this podcast, I had no idea where to start. What platform should I host it on? How do I get us listed or track my statistics? And that's where Buzzsprout came in.
Buzzsprout is the trusted host for over 100,000 podcasters, and it was easy to see why. With their directory integrations, it was simple to ensure content being published on platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more.
From day one, I've been so impressed with how easy it was to get set up, and their customer support team has been so quick at getting back to me whenever I had a question or needed help. Not only that, but being able to get a comprehensive list of statistics on our show performance has been a fascinating read.
If you're interested in starting a podcast of your own or making the switch to a new provider, please click the link on our show notes and get a $20 Amazon gift card when you sign up for a paid plan. Bonus, by clicking on our unique URL, you help support our show, which means we'll love you forever.
So why not get started today? We did and couldn't be happier. Buzzsprout, the best way to launch a professional podcast.
Do it.
Do it. I actually have a listener story this week.
You have a listener story?
I do.
Let's hear it.
This is our first one.
Thank you. Who's it from?
This is from Effie.
Okay.
So, and she sent us this after she listened to the trans Allegheny episode.
So the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Effie says, it's going to be long and I apologize in advance. Don't ever apologize.
Don't ever apologize. We love stories.
Yep. So we live in Taunton, Massachusetts. We have had a strangely large number of asylums over the centuries.
Fair enough.
And Taunton State Hospital, I think it used to be called a lunatic asylum back in the day, is one.
All right.
The original structures were Kirkbrides, and some still stand and are still in use.
Our BFF Kirkbride.
Right? My mother and sister-in-law both work there.
Okay.
My sister-in-law has this creepy-ass story about this one section she works in occasionally. The thing that has happened to her had happened exactly the same way to other coworkers there. So you'll just be walking on your rounds and everyone is asleep or being quiet, and then you hear crying. So you go look for it, and it ends up coming from a room that they don't keep patients in because everyone says it's haunted as F.
Cool.
So they'll look in, and there's a woman just sitting and crying. Or sometimes if you walk by, she'll be pressed up against the glass looking at you.
Nope.
So that's fun.
Nope. So she's just like pressed against the glass crying
Yeah.
at you?
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Nope. Nope.
That property is huge, and a lot of the buildings were dilapidated when my husband and I were teenagers. We used to cut class and explore them all.
I was going to say, they totally checked it out.
Yeah. And she said weird shit happened to all of us in there. My husband even brought something home from there when we were like 16 to 17.
Don't do that.
And it ended up doing weird shit and causing scary things to happen in their house.
Yeah. Put it back.
Yeah. The house ended up burning to the ground not long after.
That's why you don't do that. I can't even. Wow. Does insurance cover haunted objects starting your house on fire? Is there a policy for that? It's not a random act of God.
And then Effie continues, I tried to Google the article about the house fire, but couldn't find it. His mom is on our paper's cover page for this. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Lizzie Borden was housed at this property during her trial.
Did she give it 5 stars on Google?
I hope she gave it a really nice Yelp review.
Nice.
Another is Taunton Nursing Home. I'm not entirely sure what it used to be called. The city, and she's like, I don't know how to explain. They just kind of pretend it doesn't exist.
The nursing home?
Yeah. No one ever wants to talk about it, and the powers that be are talking quietly about closing it. I've only been in once.
Wait, so it's open?
It's open.
And people don't talk about it? Like, people are there.
People are there and they just don't talk about what goes on there.
I don't like that.
She says, I've only been in once, and some of the worst vibes I have ever felt in my life the entire time I was there visiting my husband's Vavo, or grandfather. We all felt like we wicked needed to go the whole time we were there. I can't even really explain it.
How did the grandfather feel?
I have no idea. Could you imagine being stuck somewhere like that?
No.
And she said, and last but never ever least, here in Taunton, I don't believe Mr. Kirkbride had anything to do with Paul Dever, but I just had to tell you guys about this place. It was a huge property, like a dozen buildings spread out, a gym, cafeteria, administration buildings, obviously buildings for patients to live, all that jazz.
Yep.
There were insane tunnels under the entire property. They were used...
like the University of Minnesota?
Yeah, only probably not as fun.
Underneath, just for the cold.
Yeah. They were used for staff mostly to get from one building to another during New England winters because it's cold. Yep. And in later years, they would be used for scary reasons. The typical story, unfortunately, of these places where it was supposed to house X amount of people, but ended up with approximately 3 times that amount. So during state inspections, they would hide patients down there. So the state counts would be what they were supposed to be.
So they would just shove a bunch of people in these tunnels.
Yeah.
Wait until the officials would leave.
Yep. And she said abuses left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Allegedly, there was a murderer on site years and years ago.
Would have been a perfect place.
He raped and murdered a young developmentally disabled woman and dismembered her, allegedly.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. It was in use right up until it was razed a few years ago. And anyone I know in the city who worked there refuses to talk about it at all, ever. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. We used to explore the old buildings that were decommissioned between the 70s and 80s, thanks to JFK and Reagan for not caring about unwell people.
Yep.
We used to explore the tunnels also. A lot of the homeless community lives down there today. And she says, holy shit, I wrote a lot. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
thank you.
And she says, we're also right smack in the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle, a 15-minute ride from the haunted-ass Freetown State Forest. Apparently cult murder happens there.
Okay.
And there's a famous story from the 80s involved in there.
All right.
The Ledge is in there, which is also super haunted. Shad Factory Mill is haunted AF and close to us. The famous red-headed hitchhiker ghost that they've seen.
You've seen it?
She's seen it, apparently. If you ever need a story from anything around here, herself and her husband have one. Or we know someone who has a story. Sorry again, it's so long. Be safe and well, Effie.
Effie, you're the best. Give us all of the stories.
That's what I told her. I was like, I want to hear all of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't read all of them, like in the podcast, I want to hear all these stories.
Can I just have them?
Yeah, can you just email them to us?
Yeah. Wow. So Massachusetts is fucked.
Yeah. As soon as I read Bridgewater Triangle, I was like, yeah, you're in the danger zone, buddy. That's a lot of fucked up shit happens over there.
Wow. We just have bears.
And ground bees.
Sometimes. Oh, yeah, we have ground bees, yeah.
Bunch of assholes. I'm saying that because I was telling Maddie before we started recording that I got stung the other day by a ground bee. And I think I'm slightly allergic because my ankle's all swollen now and it itches and it's hard underneath. So always fun.
Yep. Super fun.
So this week's podcast plug is Studying Scarlet by Ashley Rosewood and Jessica Cerise. And they explore the world of true crime every other Tuesday. And they have fictitious criminals on alternating Fridays.
Cool.
So we encourage you to give them a listen. And we will include a link in the show notes.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
Fictitious Fridays sounds cool.
Yeah. So what's a fun thing? What fun thing you got?
Fun thing I got. Well, it's not like super fun, but I finally got a dentist appointment.
Nice.
Not fun at all, but like, so I chipped a tooth in March, a week before the stay-at-home order happened, and they canceled my appointment because it was at the end of March. And I've called, and they wouldn't reschedule. They didn't have time. Weren't open. It's fine. So finally, I looked it up, found a dentist that's 3 blocks away, takes my insurance, and I'll see him on Tuesday. So it's like,
It's on Tuesday too.
I was like, I really, really am upset that like I could have had, the other half of my tooth several months ago. I would have looked down the street. So hopefully that goes well. Because it's just to the point where like it needs to be fixed. It just needs to be fixed. Like I'm noticing it. And with all of the like crazy weather stuff, like you get pressure in your face and not super fun. But fun thing. I don't know, my birthday's soon. Our birthday celebrations are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of looking forward to that, having some family time.
The presents I ordered for you came this weekend.
Nice. The present I ordered you is coming, but it's this really weird, like it was like, it's shipped. And then I look at the tracking and it's like label created 2 weeks ago. And I'm like,
I love those.
So is it on a truck or a conveyor belt somewhere? Like, I'm not sure. So it's on its way.
It's somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully it comes by your birthday. I don't know. We'll see. What about you? What's a fun thing for you?
Oh, I signed us up for this podcasting bracket thing where it's like it's like a podcasting like tournament where they're going to take like independent podcasters and it's, you compete against another podcast. And then if you move on to like a basketball tournament.
We're going to compete with other podcasts?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
To see who can be the best.
but like, what about my self-esteem?
Well, maybe we'll win. We don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
This is me saying you should vote for us.
Right. LOL. Don't make Maddie cry.
Yeah. So if you're on Twitter, you need to follow the Bracketeers. We will be sharing information about this on our Twitter. So please vote for us.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool though.
Yeah. And in other news, I'm working on some merch ideas. So once I have those figured out, I will be posting a poll on our Patreon to see which merch we're going to do first. So we can get that going.
Cool.
And I think it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to start doing merch.
I want to do face masks and thongs.
I'm all on board with the face mask. What would you want in a thong?
If you try hard enough, your face mask could be a thong.
I suppose. Be like a banana hammock.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just think it would be really funny if somebody wore us as underwear. Shall we wrap it up?
Sure. Oh, I did want to plug that next week. Oh, I have two things. Sorry. I'm going to rewind.
Back it up.
I wanted to ask you.
Me. Specifically
you.
Okay.
To give me 3 topics you want me to cover in August, since it's our birthday month.
Okay.
You can't pick the first one because I already have it figured out and I've already done like
half the notes.
75% of the research. So that's a no.
Okay.
And that one is an episode we're recording for next week with Emily from the Drink Drunk Dead podcast.
Hey, friends.
Our friend. So, and that's going to be about cults.
Ooh.
I actually found an old-timey doomsday cult that I'm going to be covering.
Old-timey cults.
Old-timey cult. So you get to percolate on the types of topics you want me to cover.
Ooh, haunted coffee. Are there any haunted coffee pots from the 1900s?
Haunted coffee pots. I'll have to Google that.
It's our birthdays.
It's our birthday month. So I'm going to say and request as birthday gifts for the both of us, since we really like getting listener stories.
Oh.
You guys, what was that disappointing thing?
I was going to ask for a trampoline. Can you P.O. box me a trampoline for my birthday, please?
Oh my God. Put it on an Amazon wish